Welcome into a brand new hour of CBS Sports HQ, presented by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Make every moment more. I'm Jacqueline D'Agostino, alongside Jordan and Giorgio. It's been a minute since we've done a show together.
I'm so excited for this.
We're super excited. And the Bills fans, they're excited. Snow, they don't care. It's no problem for them.
They're defrosting. You're defrosting. You were in Minnesota this weekend for the Wisconsin-Minnesota game.
In Madison, Wisconsin. So I still have like my same boots on. I'm like trying to thaw out. But hey, it's like 60 degrees here in South Florida. So that's cold for our standards. Nothing like what the Bills and the Bills fans were dealing with as they were going to their seats in Highmark Stadium. It was like, snow up to their knees.
And the players as well. Do you see this shirtless warming up ahead of the game? I could never be me.
Which is insane, but it all worked out because they have clinched their 5th straight AFC East title, Jordan.
5th straight. And in the making of this, quarterback Josh Allen also made history in the win. Allen now has more touchdowns than any other player to wear a Buffalo Bills uniform ever. That's surpassing Hall of Famer Jim Kelly. Now the division checked off the list, as you mentioned, Jacqueline. However, Bills have their sights set on the #1 seed in the AFC, currently sitting 1 game back from the Chiefs.
All right, this is maybe an Eagles team we were, maybe sleeping on to start the season, taking care of their business against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And Saquon just went off again, making his case for MVP. I know it's hard with Josh Allen in that race as well. His 8th game with over 100 rushing yards this season. Again, 2nd best in those MVP odds, only behind Josh Allen.
Meanwhile, out in Minnesota, both the home team and the Vikings and the Arizona Cardinals fighting for 1st place in the division. Minnesota fans held their breath until the final seconds after a pass from Sam Darnold to Aaron Jones with 1 minute and 13 seconds left on the clock, with the Vikings ahead. After trailing 13 in the 2nd half, Minnesota pulled out the win, and now they have a 5-game winning streak. How about that?
Ooh, all right, Lige. Lige's on the desk. Look away.
Get
Look
ready.
away. Seattle putting their rally caps on because the Jets were actually up 21-7 at one point in this game. And it was, Charbonnet, he had a touchdown there. Seahawks go up 26-21 late in the 4th. The last 39 seconds, we had Aaron Rodgers, who was trying to go for a Hail Mary. This is Charbonnet up the middle to put the Seahawks up 26-21. The last 40 seconds, Rodgers, Hail Mary, no good. And the Jets, their 9th straight losing season.
Big yikes over here on the desk from Lige. In Atlanta, things just keep getting uglier for Kirk Cousins. He threw the Falcons right into another loss. Literally, Cousins threw 4 interceptions on Sunday in the 17-13 loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. Atlanta now has lost 3 in a row and continues to allow Tampa back in the NFC South race.
All right, NFC South thriller? I had to double check. Am I writing that correctly? Because that's really not something we're used to talking about. Tie game 23-23 with the Bucs and the Panthers. 30 yards for the win in overtime. And the Bucs take it from the Panthers. Baker, by the way, 4-0 in his career against the Panthers. Bucs are now back at 500, and there was a nice moment after the game as well with Baker Mayfield telling Bryce Young that he's proud of him. A lot of development that we've seen from Bryce Young. But all in all, if the season ended today, we're looking at that playoff picture. The Bucs are on the outside looking in technically when it comes to the NFC, because we have the Lions in that #1 seed spot. Then we have Philly, Seattle. They're the division leader. That division has been absolutely insane. And the Falcons, despite the shortcomings that we just talked about and just showed you, it doesn't really matter. They are still in it because they have that tiebreaker over the Bucs. So we're going to get into it again. We have Mike Renner, Douzable joining us here on set. And let's talk about the NFC South here, because we have the Bucs and the Falcons. Right now, the Falcons hold that tiebreaker. Lige, we'll start with you. If we look at the remaining schedule for both of these teams, how does it shake out if it's all said and done? Because if Atlanta has the better, or if the records are very similar, I should say, Atlanta, despite Kirko throwing some turnovers and not looking his best, they still have that tiebreaker over the Bucs. But who is it at the top of the division when it's all said and done?
Jacqueline, Mike, Jay.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Falcons are in trouble. Yeah. I mean, when you look at their schedule, it's a gauntlet coming down the stretch. And you talked about it, Jacqueline. Kirk changed. I don't know what has happened in the last few weeks, but he hasn't played up to the standard that he was playing in the beginning of the season. I mean, Mike, those 4 interceptions were god-awful yesterday. And honestly, if I'm Raheem Morris, I'm considering putting Michael Penix Jr. in the game.
Wow, really?
Because Kirk Cousins has played terrible the last few weeks.
Wow.
He's allowed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have been beat up with injuries, he's allowed them to stay afloat, and now they're back in this race, and you see it right here. Look at the schedule. The Falcons have to go to the Vikings. The Raiders are a tough out. The Chiefs just found out the hard way. They have to play at the Commanders, and the Panthers just gave the Bucs everything they were looking for in that game. So when you look at the Bucs adversely, yes, they do have hard games at the Chargers. The Cowboys did come off a win, but they did play the Giants, so you got to put that into perspective. But honestly, the schedule looks a lot easier for the Tampa Bay Bucs than it does for the Falcons, and the Bucs are getting healthy at the right time. Baker Mayfield, I mean, what a gutsy performance, the fortitude that he showed in that game, because the Panthers should have won that game, right? They had an opportunity in overtime. Cooper Hubbard fumbles the ball. Baker Mayfield on 1 foot, a 10-yard scramble, then 2 big pass plays, right, to get to Sterling Shepard, to get them in field goal range, to tie that game with just 30 seconds left, right before the end of regulation. Then another big pass play to Mike Evans in overtime, and then Rashad White ends it with a big explosive run for 38 yards to put them in field goal range to win. Right now, I like the Bucs to win this division.
I have to echo what Jay said. I like the Bucs as well. The Falcons really are in trouble, and it starts at the quarterback position. If you basically take away the 2 games against the Bucs this year, where Kirk Cousins went off, 8 touchdowns between those 2 games, he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. If you just take all the other games, he has not played particularly well. And yeah, those 2 games are looming very large because they are the tiebreaker right now in that NFC South. But going forward, that ain't going to matter when you have to win those games down the stretch, and especially then when you go to the other side of the ball and they can't pressure opposing quarterbacks. I just don't think this is a good team right now. I think the Bucs at least have one side of the ball where you can hang your hat on. That offense with Tampa Bay Buccaneers, still one of the best in the NFL.
Yep.
All right, let's go ahead and get into all the drama that surrounds the NFC West, because you alluded to it a little bit earlier. The soap opera just continues. If you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, for the 3rd time this season, they are atop of the division after their win over your Jets. 7-5 right now. Seattle holds a 1-game advantage if we show you the NFC West picture right now over the Rams and the Cardinals, who are both 6-6 on the season. Mike, where do you stand with this division right now? Make it make sense.
I like the Seahawks. The way their defense has been playing, they right now, among those 4 teams, have far and away the best defense of that mix. And it's because they have a defensive front 7 or defensive line that just has what Mike McDowell wants. A guy they can rotate anyone in. We saw it yesterday. Leonard Williams has the big pick 6. They're able to pressure opposing quarterbacks. And then one of the better secondaries in football. When you can hang your hat on one side of the ball the way the Seahawks can, you can win football games. And in the past 4 weeks, they haven't allowed over 20 points in the game. Obviously allowed 21 this one, but one of those is a kick return. So, yeah, the Seahawks defense, they're balling right now.
I'm with Mike 100%. Jacqueline knows my affinity for the Seahawks. I've been saying since the beginning of the year, this is a dark horse team because Mike McDonald was brought over to help the defense. They have weapons on offense right now. Geno has struggled in the red zone with some turnovers, but he's kind of fixed that. He fixed it last week. But to Mike's point, this defense is getting after people, right? Like the scoreboard showed 21 points. To Mike's point, they gave up a kick return touchdown, and the second touchdown was on a short field after a muff fumble. So they essentially only gave up 7 points in that game. So this defense with Leonard Williams, who's playing like a defensive player of the year the last 2 weeks, he has been unblockable. Yes, you saw the pick 6, but let's not also forget he had 2 sacks in that game and a field goal block in that game. You really have to love what you've seen from Mike McDonald in this offense, and then I mean on the defensive side, but on the offensive side, Geno Smith in this run game. The big concern is DK. He's kind of been banged up the last few weeks. If DK can stay healthy, it's a dark horse in the NFC.
Yeah, it's crazy because every time we show those division rankings, literally from week to week, there's a new leader at the top. Before, of course, the Niners got hurt, and then we were talking about the Cardinals for a while, and now they're, of course, plus money to win the division. So right now, if the season ended today, the Vikings are the 5 seed in the NFC playoff picture. Gentlemen, I don't know about you guys or Jordan, but I keep waiting for this team to kind of like show us who they are. I'm like, okay, we're being tricked. This is really not a playoff team. Like, what am I seeing? It's Sam Darnold. But I feel like I just need to like accept the fact that Sam Darnold and this Vikings team, Mike, is the real deal.
Well, they have the best coaching in the NFC right now on both sides of the football, whether it's Kevin O'Connell in this offense, whether it's Brian Flores in this defense. They're like the NFC version of the Chiefs. They're going to win tight games because they're not going to blink when the other team does. And we've seen that down the stretch. 1-score games. They've been elite at it in the Kevin O'Connell era, even dating back to his first season as a head coach. So I really like what I've seen from this team now. Are they, like you said, are they as talented as the rest of the NFC when you look at the Eagles, when you look at the Packers, when you look at the Lions? I don't think so. And I think at the end of the day, that's why they are kind of talked about as they are, as almost this afterthought in the NFC playoff picture. But when you have the kind of coaching staff that they do, they are going to be prepared and ready for every single game. And that's why they're in every single game this year.
Yeah, Mike, it comes down to Sam Darnold, 100%. If this team wants to make a run at a Super Bowl, because They are talented as almost every other team. When you look at the receiver positions they have, I mean, Aaron Jones has struggled fumbling the football, but he's a really good running back. And then on the defensive side, what Brian Flores has done with that defense, with Jonathan Grenard and Van Ginkel on the outside, like, this is one of the top defenses in all of football. We saw that yesterday coming to fruition when they needed 2 stops. They were able to get Kyler Murray to throw 2 interceptions late in that game to solidify the win for them. And Sam Darnold kind of grew up in front of our eyes yesterday. Like, there was a midpoint in the season where people were saying, all right, here's Sam Darnold with the turnovers. We were just waiting for that shoe to drop. But he grew yesterday in that game, right? Being down versus the Arizona Cardinals, right? Being able to put multiple drives back. Mike, he had 3 scoring drives to end that game. They needed him to play his best, and he did. And I think in the beginning of the year, he was just trying to force feed it to Justin Jefferson. And Kevin O'Connell sat back and said, well, we have Addison, we have Hockenson, we got Munt the tight end. Let's spread this ball around. And we've seen a better Sam Darnold the last few weeks. The way he was able to maneuver in the pocket on that 3rd down to find a touchdown, the Munt, that was big time from Sam Darnold. So if he continues to play like this, the Vikings can play with anybody, but it comes down to Sam Darnold.
Yeah, it seems like things are just clicking so well, and they continue to find ways to win. Let's get to the NFC East. Eagles right now, what a turnaround for this team since early on in the season. They have now won 8 straight games, an impressive win over the Baltimore Ravens most recently. I mean, if we look at our current NFC playoff picture right now, it says they are, but Leger, is this Eagles team really the biggest threat to the Lions right now?
Oh, I don't even think it's a question, Jordan. They might be the most complete team in the NFL. I mean, 8-game winning streak, and people are waiting for that shoe to drop for the defense. But the defense with Vic Fangio, I know a lot of the Miami Dolphin players were saying it was him. Maybe it was the players and not Vic Fangio, because he is getting the maximum amount of effort out of this defense. I mean, Jalen Carter has been unblockable at times for this defense. Quinyon Mitchell is playing like a defensive rookie of the year. Cooper DeJean, that tackle in open space versus Derrick Henry, textbook. Not a lot of DBs are fitting it up there with the King Henry.
I had to rewind it and watch it again.
That was textbook tackling. I mean, the way he's got this defense to buy in, and even Bond at linebacker, like, he was a forgotten guy. He was a special teams guy. He was an edge guy. He hasn't even played interior linebacker that much. The way Vic Fangio has used the skill set from each player on this defense, it's next level. And then Saquon Barkley right now should be the odds-on favorite for MVP. And I know people will say the quarterback position is the most valuable position, but what Saquon Barkley has done, especially in second half, his numbers are just absolutely ridiculous in the second half. It's almost like they forget that he's on the team in the first half, because in their first 3 drives, he only had 3 touches in his first 3 drives, but then when they needed him the most, right, those last 2 drives, and he even alluded to this, he thanked Kellen Moore for sticking with the run game, and that's what got them to win that game, that 25-yard touchdown run. And even when they kicked that field goal, it was Saquon Barkley who had a 19-yard run on that drive. So when you talk about value, I don't think there's anybody more valuable right now than Saquon Barkley to the Eagles.
I think you could even make the argument that they're even scarier than the Lions right now, because they're a lot healthier. The Lions have so many injuries on the defensive side of the football that aren't coming back. The reinforcements aren't going to be walking through that door, whereas the Eagles, they may even be improving as the season wears out, because all those guys on the defensive side of the ball, they're young, whether it's Jalen Carter in year 2, Nolan Smith in year 2, Quinyon Mitchell as a rookie, Cooper DeJean as a rookie. These guys may be improving as the season wears on, whether it's Zach Bond in his first year at off-ball linebacker, and Kobe Dean in his first year as a starter. Like, that's why we've seen this defense every single week seemingly get better, and that's why you can shut down a Baltimore Ravens offense that no one has shut down this season. So if you're watching this Eagles team yesterday and you're the rest of the NFC, you have to be thinking, I don't want to go to Philly come playoffs.
Really quickly, Mike, I know, Leger, you said maybe Saquon over Josh Allen for MVP. Are you on the same page when it comes to Saquon?
No, I am not.
He's always going to lean towards the quarterback, man. He's going to always lean towards the quarterback.
All right, well, after that huge win over the Ravens, as you mentioned, Mike, Eagles remain in the hunt for home field advantage thanks to that win. Hey, CBS Sports HQ has you covered all season long. All the best highlights, news, and so much more. It's all here, and it's all free.